which I didn't know about so many things. Thanks to Dr. Sachin and Dr. Lalit Mohan, Dr. Dinesh Burani, whomsoever I can see, it's a great pleasure to get to deliver a talk in front of all these giants of country. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us as we interact on a day-to-day basis. So how we treat. So I'm going to start. Okay, so how I treat to how we treat, because we are a big department of 14 people. So I have been replaced by V, and that's where we are going to discuss about the crux. I can tell you in one go that the only two regimes which works out in DLBCL is RCHOP and DA-EPOCH-R. There's nothing. There's all rest is academic discussions which we are going to have to tell you and show you the data that how things looks like in today's world, which might not be a reality today, but one fine day they might see the sunrise. So let's proceed ahead with this. So diffuse large B-cell lymphoma is a heterogeneous disorder. When I started my training, I thought DLBCL is the most easiest thing to look at. When we looked at the retrospective data of our own departments at various places, it showed us 50, 55, 60%, not more than that, whatever we try to stretch around. So it's a heterogeneous disorder, and the most common lymphomas as presentation in US as well as in India from various quarters, from either from Tata Memorial, whether from Rajiv Gandhi or whether from down south. The lymphoma looks and occupies a 34 to 40% of a space in any of the big centers which deals with lymphoma on a day-to-day basis. This is basically an essential workup. Just remember, hepatitis B core antigen needs to be done every time because rituximab can actually activate that. So we need to remember that as the moment of time. And rest is normal. We know about the PET scans, we know about the bone marrows, we know about the lumbar punctures. So I'm not going to dwell upon. The more important thing is, from morphological point of view, DLBCL has moved on to the molecular classification, and where it looks like GCB and ABC. I don't see these days NHL as a report, but yes, there are certain quarters in Uttar Pradesh still people come with an NHL diagnosis. I would say the country has to move on to make the correct diagnosis by making immunohistochemistry more available to medical colleges and so on and so forth. And this is where the terminology of a MYC translocation comes in: double hit, triple hit, and double expressors, which we all need to know. Even we though are not doing fish at many places for MYC, BCL2 and BCL6, which we'll discuss which patient subset we need to do. If money is there, do it in all. If it is not, then where we are going to do BCL2, BCL6 and MYC2 we are going to discuss. MYC is bad, very bad. BCL2 is slightly bad, slightly better than MYC, but both are bad either way around. And if you have a double expressor where the cutoff limits for MYC and BCL2 has been well established, if you have double expressor, you don't have the money to confirm it by the fish, still they are bad. So they're still bad from a de novo DLBCL. And this is how the new classification looks like: large B-cell lymphoma to high-grade B-cell lymphoma, double hit or triple hit, DLBCL otherwise specified, ABC and a GCB type, and a primary mediastinal B-cell lymphoma. Now the ABC and GCB is going to 2021. They are going to see more of these sub-classification, new genetic classes, because EZB mutation, we are getting the drugs going to be approved in next year, 2021, in the first quarter. Probably another new drug which might come for follicular lymphoma and a DLBCL. So you see how, from a morphological point of view, to a cell of origin, and from cell of origin going down to the last level of genetic-based classification, which is gaining stream in today's world. Cure rates, we know 60%, refractory 10 to 15%, relapse in 20 to 30%. We know the ABC type. If you talk about just the ABC type, the 40% 3-year progression-free survival compared to 75% of a GCB survival. MYC found in 5 to 10% of DLBCL. Double hit lymphomas tends to have clinically aggressive course, less than 12 months. And if both are, IHC is more common, occurring in 20 to 30% of DLBCL, but only 10 to 15% of these double expressors will have a fish confirmation. This too confirms the adverse prognosis with a 5-year survival of 30 to 40% with RCHOP. The idea is we can choose upfront what to do. And in 2020 April, PET scan with tumor metabolic total volume has come one of the prognostic signification for predicting the responses in DLBCL. So both It is gaining steam. What we need to pick up, how we need to pick up, so that we can thrash out between good risk markers and a bad risk marker patients, and can do something more worthwhile, which is just not psychological, but also translates into clinical outcomes as well. So DLBCL simple algorithm, R-CHOP into 3, PET scan negative, R-CHOP 1, PET scan positive, radiotherapy. This has been proven by another trial which is just published in Blood Journal. And advanced stage, 6 scan, 8 cycles have been proven. There is no benefit of 8 cycles. Classical DLBCL, 4 cycles of PET, 4 cycles of R-CHOP, followed by PET, followed by 2 R-CHOP more. Positive predictive value of interim PET is variable with insufficient evidence at present to change standard treatment based on the result of interim PET scan alone. At the end of treatment, PET scan is strongly recommended after 6 to 8 weeks. So let's see, is adding more or doing more, do we achieve something? So 2013 to 2019, many people have tried CHOP-R, CHOP-14, CHOP, ACBB, DA-EPOCH-R, Auto-Upfront, R-Mega-CHOP from Germany, but you see, there is no overall survival benefit. You don't want a progression-free survival alone. What you require in DLBCL is an overall survival. So is it better? And that's what I told you. The only 2 crux out of this will come as is R-CHOP or DA-EPOCH-R. So in today's world, you will contest this. Nothing has worked better than R-CHOP in these subset. But the biggest problem when we see the trial is a very heterogeneous disorder. The kind of a tumor volume today we saw was 1,000. And where it was published in Blood as more than 220 centimeter cube as a poor prognostic marker. We have got 2 patients, one sitting at 800, one sitting at 1,000. And PL Kapoor, Dr. Dharma is co-jointly treating that patient. 1,000, a huge leg mass. The volume is so big. So how do you treat those people? And these trial might not give you an individual benefit out of that. So can we do something? Can we add? Okay, now we know there's a GCB and ABC. Let's have their fancy thing. Can we do something? Let's add bortezomib. No benefit. Can we add ibrutinib? No benefit. Can we add lenalidomide? Probably yes. R2 CHOP? Probably yes. But other than that, no. So various trials, various protocols has failed to show the superiority of any combination in ABC type of DLBCL. Whether it be bortezomib, it came with a bang and it went away in a similar fashion as well. Maintenance trial seems very provocative. Can we do something like a follicular lymphoma? Can we do? So the only thing which has come well is lenalidomide, published in 2017, which shows 25 milligram for 2 years, and it shows the median progression-free survival was not reached with a confidence interval of 0.78, which shows that sometimes this trial, remark trial, has shown the lenalidomide trend towards prolongation of PFS in GCB positive BCL, but no significant effect on PFS in ABC positive or unclassified disease. So ABC remain an enigma when we know only 30 to 40% people are going to respond, and this subset is not going to do well as such. So the thing is, in a de novo DLBCL, which is GCB, or can we do something more? The answer to that is probably no. In elderly age group, R-CHOP followed by lenalidomide can be tried. It has done very well for this trial. So lenalidomide maintenance might get its foothold into an elderly subgroup. So how do we treat double-hit lymphoma? Barron and colleagues showed 14% of 303 patients, 2-year survival, 35%. British Columbia, R-CHOP survival, 33 months. FISH testing restricted to the testing to those lymphomas where, this is very, very important for all of us, in a MYC, where we need to do FISH testing for MYC. In all the GCB subtypes by immunohistochemistry. It's amazing that you don't get a double-hit lymphoma in ABC type. So ABC was a subset differently. In a GCB itself, 15% patient will be double-hit lymphomas. High proliferative lymphomas measured by Ki67, which is more than 90%. That expresses the MYC protein by immunohistochemistry. These are the subsets to do every time you have to do a MYC testing by FISH into these subsets. Because if you pick up a MYC, whatever you do, things are not going to look good. So British Columbia, 10% CNS relapses. So you have to have an initial LP and if possible flow followed by CNS prophylaxis. So we came up with different ideas. So we have got two, three therapies which are there with us. What do we have? R-CHOP, we show poor. Could we do something more? Codox, IVEC followed by Auto, 44% at 2 years. SWOG, 9704 trial, R-CHOP plus Auto, no benefit. MD Anderson, 129 patients, which was treated with R-CHOP, R-EPOCH and R-Hyper-CVAD. The only thing which stand out was R-EPOCH, which was 67% event-free survival at 2 years. BC less than 80 years now is DA-EPOCH-R with CNS prophylaxis with limited stage with normal LDH, probably R-CHOP plus radiotherapy. For relapses, the only thing which works is CAR T-cell. In Indian context, CR, if the patient relapses followed by CR, if you can achieve a CR by RHAP or RICE followed by allo transplant or whatever worth it is, in an auto transplant arm, the survival was 0% at 2 years. So outcome is definitely shown to be better with DA-EPOCH-R. So first, DA-EPOCH-R gains its foothold into basically into a high-grade DLBCLs where there's a double hit or a triple hit. Patient HIV, yes, R-EPOCH is better than R-CHOP. Concomitantly with CAR-T, antiretroviral therapy needs to be done. Primary mediastinal B-cell lymphomas, patient treated with primary mediastinal DA-EPOCH-R, again event-free survival as 87%. No doubt about it. In this subset, it is different from the rest of the Hodgkin's and the DLBCS because it expresses PD-1 and the Pembro tends to work very well. So if you remember, in which all subset the PD-1 inhibitors tends to work very well is testicular lymphomas, CNS lymphomas, and primary mediastinal B-cell lymphoma. So R2-CHOP, this is where the data. So now it is very interesting. So I'll show you some combinations of various fancy combinations with CHOP, R-CHOP. R2-CHOP is lenalidomide being added. If you see the A column, where there's a blue line shows a GCB versus ABC type, non-GCB type, way different. If you see the similar thing on a B, the yellow line has been shifted up across up to the GCB level. So if you just see this line, there was a curve, but there was a huge difference. Now this whole curve, the whole curve in a non-GCB arm has pushed up. It has gone up by 30% up. So it means R2-CHOP was doing something at least in ABC type of DLBCL when used upfront. Similarly, the overall survival was down for a non-GCB type. It almost reaches or becomes better than the GCB type when we are using R2-CHOP. So ABC probably, if you can't use DA-EPOCH-R, then R2-CHOP can become the standard of care as such. And this is a very provocative data. So you see the curves actually shifting up. When we talk about daratumumab similarly shift the curves all up, whether it be standard risk or high risk, but it might not be able to overcome the high risk cytogenetics. In this subset, R2-CHOP becomes probably could gain a foothold for ABC type of DLBCLs. R2-SMART phase 2 trial for ibrutinib, lenalidomide and rituximab based therapy, which is called RI, which has been utilized in this subset. Overall response of 86% going up to 100%, but the majority of responses were in ABC type of patients. So TT time to progression with RLI prolonged compared with historical results for R-CHOP plus ibrutinib and lenalidomide. Progression-free survival of 94% at 1 year for patients with double expressive DLBCLs and other patients. So what is more important is all this has gained foothold in ABC type of DLBCLs. So smart conclusion was non-GCB type DLBCLs tends to do very well. So this could be utilized, but it's still a phase 2 trial. But if you are relapsing after a R-CHOP therapy, then probably you can utilize in a non-GCB setting. Phase 3 trial of ibrutinib plus R-CHOP in a R-CHOP versus patient with non-germinal center B-cell. So it actually showed, investigator concluded that risk outweighs benefit and adding to R-CHOP did not lead to any other benefits. So it was withheld and ibrutinib plus R-CHOP has not able to gain footholds. So DLBCL in elderly, consideration of RG-CVP or RCOMP14 or liposomal doxorubicin to be utilized. If you think of R-CHOP, adriamycin removed RCEOP, I don't think so that it works. We have got a 15 patient data. RCOP has not worked. The only thing which tends to work in elderly age group, probably who has got ABC type, is probably they require the anthracycline dose as well. How to tackle the relapses? Polatuzumab is soon going to be available. 2 patient data, both had got partial responses at this present moment of time, all on a compassionate to base access. Heavily pre-treated, 3 lines refractory. This is what the 40% PV plus BR has been able to achieve a CR of 40%. So we have got partial responses at this present moment of time. This is a new drug, tafasitamab, which is coming up, ELMINT trial, which shows that it can be utilized in a prior regimes and responding to the good ones. Mosunetuzumab, another bispecific antibody targeting CD3 and CD20. This is also soon going to be available because phase 1, phase 2 trials are ongoing. Relapse auto-allo, if you relapses early within 1 year, if you have a high risk group, you have a young patient, you cannot achieve, you cannot able to collect the stem cells, probably you can go ahead and do the allo transplants. We have done a couple of allo transplants, but we have still not analyzed that. But people who tend to relapse within 1 year so early, general feeling is auto does not do well. But what is more important is try to take the patient into a transplant when you achieve a CR. That's a mandatory thing. So people who achieve a CR and then transplanted, they tend to do very well. This is the highlighting point of venetoclax. Yes, sir. So just a last slide. So G plus R CHOP, Goya trial has not shown Gazyva tends to do very well, but venetoclax, on the basis of venetoclax, might reach to the moon. And this is going to be a very interesting thing because BCL2 is gaining foothold in every place. Whether you talk about T-cell ALL, you talk about multiple myeloma, 11-14, you talk about lymphomas, BCL2 has got a huge role to play, and of course AML, where amazing results have been found to be with azacitidine and venetoclax. So take home message, R-CHOP remains the standard of care, and wherever you can't find a reason to give DA-EPOCH-R, lenalidomide maintenance in elderly GCB type, double hit lymphomas, DA-EPOCH-R, primary mediastinal B-cell lymphoma, DA-EPOCH-R, PET scan, total metabolic tumor volume might be a way to go ahead. ABC type, what we are doing at this moment of time and collecting data is DA-EPOCH-R in a bulky disease. Otherwise, R-CHOP remains the standard. I have not still covered the CNS therapies because it was just going extended thing. But then certain times we can have a separate lecture for CNS therapies as well. Just prophylaxis and treatment of DLBCLs who has a secondary progression to CNS.